Namaskar and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We're live today from Goa. Goa is known for things to do with sunshine and beaches, but here we are today with Alan and Zubin for this wonderful special of the BWH Dialogue.
I think, as you rightly put it, the grounds for travel and tourism in India are fertile, and perhaps more fertile now than they've ever been in the past. What's happening in India happened in the US in the 1950s, happened in China in the 1980s and 1990s, and that is just a plethora of infrastructure build. Whether it's expressways, whether it's airports, whether it's the rail system, interconnectivity and tourism infrastructure is what drives our industry. Domestic travel or a pan-Asian traveller. Roll back 10 years or 20 years, our markets were full of long-haul inbound, and our hotels were designed for long-haul inbound.
The mandate is really very clear, and the mandate is to bring the world-class hospitality that Hilton represents into this sunshine market which is called India. So we envision over the next several years to have a hotel in more than 75 locations in this country. As we speak today, there are about 75 organized hotel markets. And of course, beyond the tier 1 and tier 2 markets, those markets keep on growing. So there are, in the long term, these 75 markets are going to become 150 markets in the country, right? So if you look at that long sunrise, and if we see where we are in this point in time, that long journey has to be articulated in an extremely smart and strategic manner.
Namaskar and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We're live today from Goa. Goa is known for things to do with sunshine and beaches, but here we are today with Alan and Zubin for this wonderful special of the BWH Dialogue. This is one show that I've really been looking forward to for a while. Alan Watts is the President Asia Pacific region at Hilton, and Zubin, who's recently taken over. Welcome to Hilton. Welcome to your new role and welcome to exciting times. Zubin is the Senior Vice President and Country Head for India for Hilton, and he gets in at a time where the Indian industry for hospitality is on a high, and COVID has been a game changer for the world, but post-COVID has been a game changer for India. Our domestic tourism has killed it for the industry, and the inbound has yet to kick in. And imagine when that happens. We need more hotels and we need serious business. And let's get talking with Alan. Let me roll in with you with our first question. In the context of evolving consumer preferences and industry trends, what specific adaptations or innovations is Hilton Asia Pacific incorporating to meet the changing demands of the market, especially India and South Asia?
Very good afternoon to your viewers. I think, as you rightly put it, the grounds for travel and tourism in India are fertile, and perhaps more fertile now than they've ever been in the past. What's happening in India happened in the US in the 1950s, happened in China in the 1980s and 1990s, and that is just a plethora of infrastructure build. Whether it's expressways, whether it's airports, whether it's the rail system, interconnectivity and tourism infrastructure is what drives our industry. Not only does it drive our industry, it drives resilience in our industry and should protect us on this boom-bust cycle that our precious India travel and tourism space has been through over the past decades. But what does that mean for brands? What does it mean for innovation? What it means in India is the building out of the pyramid, if you will. India, as we stand today, has a plethora of large format hotels in a full service environment from all of the major brands, but is only just now building up to the top of that pyramid with brands like ours as Waldorf Astoria, but crucially building out the bottom of the period for the emerging mid-market. And that will be the story of India for the next decade and decades to come. It's the building out of the pyramid in the mid-scale for the emerging domestic market. It's the organising of the unorganised sector that really is going to transition India from where we sit today to being the third largest lodging market on the entire planet. And it's super exciting. So what does that mean in terms of Hilton and brands? Not only are we staffing up in terms of attracting top talent like Zubin here, but it also means we're looking at deploying our mid-scale brands and making new brand entries. We've already made a great start with the Hilton Conrad and the announcement of the Waldorf Astoria in Jaipur last year, but you'll see from us our focus service brands such as Hilton Garden Inn, such as Hampton Inn, some other brands that we trade in the Americas coming into this market, is we seek to replicate what's been our success in China in India, and for it to take its rightful space in the hospitality sector, not only on a global stage, but certainly within the Hilton stage.
You know, not just 1.4 billion of us here who make the country. We're a country of diverse facets, and spiritual tourism, as you may, is really happening. So you have all the action going, Alan. That brings me to my next question. Consider the challenges and opportunities in the hospitality sectors. How does Hilton aim to navigate and capitalize on emerging trends and market dynamics in the Asia Pacific region in the coming year?
What's been the last decade and the decade to come, something crucial has happened in our industry, and that is domestic travel or a pan-Asian traveller. Roll back 10 years or 20 years, our markets were full of long-haul inbound, and our hotels were designed for long-haul inbound. 10 years ago, 4 out of every 10 travellers was a long-haul traveller into our markets. Roll on now, 8 out of every 10 customers is a pan-Asian traveller. And that is a story of India outbound, which stands to be the next big thing, if you will, for travel and tourism. China inbound, which of course has been the story of the last decade. But you're also seeing Thais, Indonesians, Malaysians, Vietnamese, these big population bases that all have a similar characteristic in rising GDP, transitioning around Asia, seeking experiences, seeking destinations that are less traveled for them, and India of course is on that map. So what does that mean for evolving brands? It means that you're evolving your food and beverage, you're evolving your stay style, you're evolving your product to cater to that pan-Asia traveller. And as we come back to India, to your good point about religious and spiritual tourism, as much as India is an older culture and one of the world's older culture, it's still relatively unexplored for inbound. Come back to that point of infrastructure, the delights that India holds for the leisure traveller are really important, and I do think it's a story that's unknown overseas.
You know, think of it, even the government is putting their weight behind the category, the sector, and for locations which are yet unexplored. So our Prime Minister, for instance, just did a short trip to Lakshadweep. So Lakshadweep is on the horizon. And if I know my Honorable Prime Minister, his mind is set on travel, tourism and hospitality. So expect more. So I think the industry would do well to be ready.
Agreed. Right. The industry will do well to be ready, and it's certainly working on it. But why now versus in the past? The spiritual destinations in India and the other cultural delights of the market have been around for hundreds of years.
Been there.
Where the government is to be congratulated is on the infrastructure spend.
True that.
149 airports now, many of those risen in the last 10 years. Look at the travel time to Jaipur in the future when the expressway is finished compared to what it was. An international traveller is not going to take an 8-hour, 10-hour, 18-hour journey to visit these destinations. The infrastructure is going to unlock a boom for an inbound traveller. And what's important for big hotel companies, also the Indian buying potential for the outbound traveller is seeing the best of both worlds. Internationally, we're catering to an India traveller need. From an inbound perspective, we have a plethora of new options that have never been on the table before, and a customer that is going to experience them in a way that they are far more accessible than they've ever been before.
Infrastructure has been a major kickoff, and our minister who's driving that sector, Zubin, will endorse. He's doing a fabulous job of it, right? So, and it's all happening in the speed of change and world class. And consider that these are modern infrastructure situations, unlike what's come up in the West, who are aging. All right, so tell me, if you can reflect on Hilton's overall growth trajectory in Asia Pacific region, what is the outlook for the region one? And are there any specific regions that are expected to be top performers?
Well, first things first, Asia Pacific for travel and tourism on the world stage is the fastest growing market. It's 54% of the global population. Not only is it the big populations of China, India, of course, the Southeast Asian countries that make up that. So what's that seen for our industry, and certainly for Hilton, is year-on-year record growth. We opened 140 hotels last year. We signed 250. And all markets are doing well, and all segments, as that rising middle class domestic reaches back into that long haul, high US dollar buying power inbound traveller at the moment. So I think what we're going to see is a continued number of year-on-year records, particularly here in India as the sector takes off. What we are seeing in evolution is catering to those customers. Look at here in India. Traditionally, out-of-home advertising in India was the way to attract a domestic customer. India has the importance to companies like Hilton that has been in India for a long time and intends to be in India for a long time in the future. And as I said before, I believe it becomes the world's third largest lodging market. But investments in the India domestic scene, investments in the India domestic customer, like we've announced a new partnership with Deepika Padukone.
Oh, yeah.
A perfect example of an influencer that's targeted particularly to the Indian domestic customer, and an infrastructure and a buying proposition with us as we invest in technology and help our customers book via WhatsApp as opposed to a traditional booking phone call system. That's a sign of companies like Hilton investing in the long haul in India, investing in a traditional way of doing business, but also appealing to that ever important younger rising middle class that listens more to influencers than they do to advertising.
And they can identify with the lady with the star. But that's also good for domestic Indian audiences and for Indian travelers who are, going to travel the world.
Absolutely.
So there you are, you've killed two birds with one stone. Let me just talk a bit with you on your plans, plans to introduce global brands of the Hilton stable in the Indian market, and what considerations go into making such decisions.
I think ultimately we're a managing franchising company. So our guiding light will always be best-in-class owner returns, best-in-class customer experiences, and best-in-class careers. Now, we've been fortunate in the career space to be named India's #1 place to work last year, which is important for us as we deploy brands and attract talent. We've always been known in best-in-class owner returns. We're very careful and selective where we deploy our brands. And then we look at what is the ability for us to introduce new brands. Now, at the very top end in the Waldorf Astoria brand, that brand can be brands of one. It's unique. There'll only ever be one Waldorf Astoria in a city that it trades. It has to be the pinnacle of the market. It has to be a rate leader. But that's a decision based on real estate, based on return, based on build cost of one singular location. As you come down the pyramid and you look at mid-scale, that's about building a network effect and a loyalty of frequent travelers. So that becomes about headroom. And so if we look at headroom, or we look at the ability to sign hotels, we wouldn't deploy a focused service brand as example, like a Hilton Garden Inn unless we thought the headroom was above 100 hotels for that particular brand. So the bigger decisions for the focus service and mid-scale are always going to be about building a network that follows that infrastructure around. So as I look at the infrastructure build now, 10 years ago I wouldn't have deployed focus service brands. Now that the infrastructure build is coming to the fore, you will see us deploy those brands and, on camera in the hundreds in India.
Like you spoke about luxury and the mid-scale, luxury really is niche. It really positions Hilton in India. And mid-scale is really belly of the business where the fat of the business lies. Absolutely. So we need both of them. One is the aspirational driver and the other one is was raking in the money. Thank you, Alan. Let me just cross over to you, Zubin, and park a few questions with you. First of all, congratulations. Right, this is a great role, and I think a lot of expectations, not just from Hilton, Alan, but a lot of expectations from the industry, because I think Hilton really needs to grab its place under the sun in India. So tell me, if you can share your mandate and expectations as the new country head for Hilton in India.
The mandate is really very clear. And the mandate is to bring the world-class hospitality that Hilton represents into this sunshine market, which is called India. So we envision over the next several years to have a hotel in more than 75 locations in this country. And that presence has to be underscored by superlative service, superlative owner ROI, and huge participation in the India Sunrise story. So the mandate is very clear, like I said, and that's what we are here for, to deliver.
I'm going to extend this question after your round is over. I'm going to talk some numbers, right? So you might as well think about them as milestones. Tell me, Zubin, this is going to be a long question, so you remember, if you can't, just ask me again. So India's diverse market presents unique challenges and opportunities. If you can provide insight into Hilton's expansion plans in this dynamic landscape, outlining potential growth areas for 2024, right? This year. We're just about into the second month. Additionally, what is your strategic vision for Hilton in India, and how do you plan to lead the brand into a phase of aggressive growth?
Sure. Thank you, Bhuvanesh. Like I said, the vision, it all begins with delivering superlative stakeholder returns. So the starting point of our journey on the way ahead has to start from being able to deliver an incremental ROI for our owners, and that has to, in the first place, start from operational excellence. We would want to grow India being a market which grows with relationships, which grows with owners. We would want to ultimately be able to grow with our existing owner partners, and of course have tie-ups with many more as we go ahead. The fundamentals have to be right, and we will begin with focusing on the fundamentals of the business, which start with operational excellence, which start with increasing distribution footprint in India, which start with focusing on creating market visibility. And Deepika Padukone's announcement earlier today is just the first step of the many that you will see. Ultimately, in India, as we speak today, there are about 75 organized hotel markets. And of course, beyond the tier 1 and tier 2 markets, those markets keep on growing. So, there are, in the long term, these 75 markets are going to become 150 markets in the country, right? So if you look at that long sunrise, and if we see where we are in this point in time, that long journey has to be articulated in an extremely smart and strategic manner. So we will begin, indeed, by placing the right assets in the right partnerships in the right markets. And that partner selection, site selection, market selection has to be a very scientific and pointed process for us. And on the back of being able to deliver those owner ROIs, we should be able to grow more. So in the tier 1 markets, of course, we see the top 10 markets our luxury and upper upscale brands, see the Waldorf, Conrad's, Hilton's, DoubleTrees. And then in tier 2 and tier 3 market, India in the long term is a mid-market growth story. So focused service brands, Hampton Inn, Hilton Garden Inn are going to be key to our growth in India. Secondly, we have to be very open-minded about how are we going to structure this growth in terms of commercial tie-ups. Indeed, our preference is to grow via the management route, and management contracts in the upper upscale and full service segments and luxury segments are our preference. But we would be very open to evaluating various selective franchising in our focused service business. So that's how broadly the way to the future looks. And like I said, it has to be all built on the right fundamentals, because the fundamentals take you much farther. For us, it is not just about it is not just about having a hotel in every location in India. It has to be a hotel with the right quality. Quality is equally important. And ultimately, growth will be determined by owner ROI. Growth will be determined by guest satisfaction, customer experience, and growth will be delivered by being the best place to work.
Zubin, you've been a development person. Nobody knows that better than you do. So you're the right man in the right place. Having said that, relationships matter a lot. Indeed. Right? Running relationship with investors who are owners, right? So they're investing big bucks. And this is not a situation where you can turn around and build a hotel within 3 to 6 months. You take 2 to 3 years. So I'm sure you have your plans ready. Yeah. And I also think, I'm not just making a statement, but a point. India wants to hear the Hilton story. And they want to hear it big and bold. Indeed. Right? Let's hear from both of you.
Bhuvanesh, what's been happening very quietly over the last couple of years, and this is a story which has not been heard as much. Our portfolio of 25 hotels, the 26th opened just today. There's a lovely DoubleTree in Whitefield, Bengaluru. Is poised for 100% growth in the next 3 to 5 years. We are, and this is all pipeline which is actually under construction as we speak. So we have quietly built around a very high quality portfolio, and quality matters, like I said earlier. And so on the back of that, we are then looking to build up our organic and strategic growth functions, and looking to sign an above par number of hotels every year, and then eventually also those above par openings will convert, above par signings will convert into above par openings, right? So that's the mandate. Ultimately I see a Hilton hotel in 100+ markets in India.
Touch wood. Right. Alan, what would you add to this?
Look, I think Zubin captured it really well. We tend to look at the India market as it trades today without truly being mindful of the size of the market tomorrow. We're not in the US or Europe, where you could argue, the race has been won in key cities and you're looking for incremental growth. The growth potential of India is enormous. Now, I feel the same way about India than I did about China in 2007 and 8. Hilton's just opened its 600th hotel in China. In 2008, we had 5. So it's not that Hilton has been purposefully delayed in the market, but we've been in this business for 103 years, standing for best-in-class owner returns. And that means right brands, right partners, right products, and crucially at the right time. And so we've learned from missteps in India, we've learned from studying the market. I think as you see announcements like Deepika, announcements like Zubin joining the business, announcement like the Waldorf Astoria, Jaipur, we'll open
and a lot more.
And a lot more. We will open a record number of hotels this year. as Zubin rightly says, we're scaled to, if we did nothing more today, and we've certainly got a lot more coming, we'll double the size of our estate here. But I feel like we are only just getting started. So this will be one of a number of conversations we'll have over the years. And I do feel that the India story for Hilton will follow the US story for Hilton, will follow the China story for Hilton, and you can feel Hilton ramping up. You can feel with the announcements that we'll make here and some announcements that we'll make at HICSA in a few months' time, that the story is yet to be written for Hilton. And just at the outset, what I've been through with it being back in market for the last 24 hours is, to your point, the optimism in the industry, the optimism for Hilton, but the optimism in the industry in general is palatable. And it's not only Indian domestic optimism. You are now seeing, and similar to the infrastructure being different, you're now seeing foreign capital knocking on the door to get into India and to get into the India hospitality space. So I would say, you know, I have the privilege in Asia Pacific of having the world's second largest economy in China. I have the privilege of having the world's third largest economy in Japan, and now the world's fifth largest economy in India. And of those bright spots, far and away for the next decade, India holds the biggest opportunity for travel and tourism in all of Asia Pacific.
Our Prime Minister is committed to make India the third largest economy by 2030. So, you know, my sense is that development has been a challenge for India. We should have had far more hotels, right? So, but I guess what's behind us is behind us. Looking ahead, I'm sure.
Bhuvanesh, I would like to comment on that, and it's a unique perspective that we very firmly believe in at Hilton. We believe that we have a unique opportunity to bring in the world-class Hilton brands into the fastest growing market, and we have the white space to curate that portfolio. You know, there's been a lot of talk about expansion, a lot of talk about growth, about numbers. All of that is great, that's important. I think we have the unique opportunity to be able to achieve those numbers with a very high quality portfolio going ahead. And that's what we already feel, that's we are sensing, it's palpable in the discussions we are having as we get started for India. And you know, we are very, very optimistic and confident about what lies ahead.
Zubin, the devil lies in the detail, the vision, and their execution, right? So, and nobody does that better than you. I've seen it. So that brings me to my next question for you. All right, where does India? You've answered a bit and parts of it in your previous one. Where does India stand in terms of new signings and pipeline numbers for the next few years? Additionally, how does the RevPAR in India compare to other global markets for Hilton?
Well, India has clearly, you know, pre and post COVID, there's been a strong resurgence in RevPARs globally. In India, as an industry, you know, RevPAR levels have increased, ADR levels and consequently RevPAR levels have increased high double digits. ADR has gone up almost 50% pre and post COVID. Hilton's performance in India has been above par. So we have in various markets, and it's also a lot of it depends on the distribution spread of the portfolio. So we have been posting double-digit RevPAR increases, right? And as we go ahead for this year and beyond, I think we are perceiving, and January has been a great month already. February looks strong. The year ahead looks strong. I think it's going to be a good, strong year for Hilton and the industry. And you know, with our commercial engines revving up, you know, our RevPAR growth is going to be very, very strong.
All right, tell me, Zubin, considering the unique challenges of the Indian market, what specific measures do you plan to adopt to strengthen Hilton's stakeholder network, including partners and owners, to achieve operational excellence?
Yes, indeed. I think And coincidentally, we just had a partners meet, and last evening, and it was a great get together of our local partners who happen to be here for the conference in Goa. It all starts with building engagement. It all starts with building in a lot of trust. We have, as we speak, various partners, several partners, with whom we have multiple assets. And ultimately, I believe the proof of the pudding lies in its taste. And we have major hotel owners like Embassy who have multiple hotel assets, 4 or 5 hotel assets with us. Partnership trust is very important. Again, we'll go back to my earlier point of delivering owner ROI, and owner ROI coming in through operational excellence. So it has to start from that point of view. But of course, over and above, I think the relationship matters. It is important to be seen as a long-term partner. I think in India and also anywhere else in the world, you cannot be seen as a transactional hotel brand or a hotel partner. We are in for the long run. Our management agreements last 15 to 20 years on an average, and those relationships are then built for the long term. So owner engagement, owner value proposition are all at the very heart of how we are approaching this. And Alan, if you want to add to that.
I think ultimately, as I said before, best-in-class owner returns is what all the hotel companies are promising, and that means the strength of your relationship is based on the strength of your performance. And we need to make sure that, as we do everywhere in the world, that our relationships stand the test of time, and we're empowering owners to have their first, second, third, fourth hotel. Part of that means we're always working on improving our enterprise. So improving the enterprise engines that face into the hotels, both internationally and also domestically. So we spoke about Deepika before. We're launching an out-of-home advertising. I feel that as India starts to travel, then the key airports, Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi, is something that needs our presence, both from the inbound customer, but also for that outbound customer, but also making sure we're strengthening our loyalty program. As an example, making sure that you can earn your points at a Hilton hotel and exchange them for money can't buy experiences. So as an example of that, we've just taken a partnership with the Singapore Sports Hub, where Taylor Swift will be performing, which is obviously a money can't buy experience, and literally money can't buy it now, as all 6 shows have been sold out for months. But by partnering with institutions like the Singapore Sports Hub, we can allow our members to trade their points for money can't buy Taylor Swift tickets. It's just one hyper example in making sure that our enterprise continues to be best in class, and that our loyalty members, of which there are 180 million worldwide, are pointed to our Hilton brands. And so whether that's for an Indian outbound customer wanting to stay anywhere in the world, for a traveling leisure customer wanting to stay, or a domestic customer wanting to use their points for a different experience than the traditional, one of the things that I need to make sure we're doing is always growing our enterprise proposition, that ultimately best-in-class top line is the pathway to best-in-class bottom line.
Very well said. But also, like class is permanent, right? You can't let that go. So is it with trust.
Yes.
Right? You can't lower the trust factor any bit for your owners to come back and support you with more assets. Let me go to Alan with one question. Alan, tell me, can you provide insight into Hilton's overall brand and development plans in the Asia Pacific region, and how these plans align with the diverse market landscape?
At a macro level, it is about building out the pyramid. So if I think of that as an Asia level, Waldorf Astoria, Conrad Hotels and Resorts, Hilton, DoubleTree, the brand tree as you know it today. Here's what's crucial within that. So while that sounds like it's the same solution for all of Asia Pacific, we believe in 2 things. To your earlier point, trust is like glass, and I'm risk adverse by nature. as a businessman, I'm risk adverse, and despite Hilton having 7,500 hotels worldwide, we're a risk adverse company. We have the privilege of managing or franchising our brands to third parties or managing on behalf of an owner, which means we own the enterprise, but we don't own the real estate and the asset. So if you're in the other people's money business, you need to make sure that you're treading carefully, you're not taking risks with other people's assets, and you are building trust and building on trust. Now, ultimately, because we don't own the assets, we would be getting smaller, not bigger in Asia Pacific if we weren't doing a great job of doing that. So that gets back to, so how do you get the growth rates that we're doing? And we're the fastest growing hotel company in Asia Pacific today when you are in the other people's money business, right? You don't have the real estate. It's not your decision. People are choosing you more than the competition, or you wouldn't be the fastest growing. That is about hyper-localization. So that means there are certain things in a Hilton Garden Inn in China and in India that will be familiar, but there's many things that won't be. We've got to make sure that although the club sandwich in a Western environment is on every room service menu because Western travelers love comfort food, that on a Pan-Asian menu and the late night room service menu, rice is on, because our Asian customers don't feel sated until they've had rice before they go to bed. That's a easy example to make, but that's true of localization in India. So what you will see for us is this risk-adverse approach to make sure we spend our money and we do the work up front and localizing our prototypes. We know that for focus service hotels in India, social catering, meeting space, and breakfast are key. So while in the US you may see bagels and coffee and no meeting space in a Hampton Inn, in India, if we don't have social catering, particularly as we get to tier 3, 4, 5, 6 cities where people will get married in a by Hilton brand, regardless of what price point, then we'd be doing our owners a disservice. And so while my macro answer is all brands, all market, my micro answer is localization for India is what will keep us safe.
True. I think that you've got it right. Zubin, let me come to you with your last question. Considering the unique challenges in the Indian market, what specific measures do you plan to adopt to strengthen Hilton's stakeholder network, including partners and owners, to achieve operational excellence?
I think a little bit of this I mentioned in my previous question as well. I think, like I said, we have to look at this from a very long-term point of view, and from a long-term point of view, trust is earned, right? It's not a given to start off with. Trust in a business environment, in a business relationship, comes from both parties being able to deliver superlative expectations and returns to each other. In our case, it is about being able to deliver superlative returns to our owners, right? And that all then ultimately falls into being able to lever the Hilton commercial, operational, distribution, loyalty engines into delivering those superlative returns, right? So I think one of the key pillars of building trust over a long period of time has to be around delivering operational excellence. That's where it starts. That is the center of the universe. The second pillar to that is having an organization where it is easy to do business, which is easy to do business with. And I can assure you that the Hilton organization in India is extremely eager to work and grow in the India market. This is one of the few markets in the world where we are not holding a number 1 or a number 2 position. So clearly, we are quite eager and hungry to get there. And a lot of that.
Therein lies an opportunity.
Indeed, it's a huge opportunity, and that's going to come by building trust, by by interacting as long-term partners who are committed to each other. And I think a brilliant example of that is what Hilton did during the COVID tenure. You know, so we had so many partnerships, and we all emerged quite successful and strong out of COVID. So that's a real story of how we all came together as partners. Of course, credit be given to others. I think the industry did pretty well as well. But I think the values of the company will deliver long-term success, and I think Hilton as a company has the right values with the right heart and the warmth to deliver to our.
That's so good to hear. That's so reassuring as too. But I have this one question for Alan and you, Zubin. We are going to be as good or as bad as the people we hire. Or let me put it better, as good or as bad as the people who work with us or we work with. So your people investment plans and talent development has got to be, without compromise, top class. Tell me, what are you thinking about this?
We've been awarded the world's best workplace. Is the mechanics of our business are the mechanics of any well-run business, and that is when it comes down to great hotel keeping, it comes down to investment in people. And so the Hilton theory of investing in people is a business theory. It's about training hours. It's about making sure that people are attracted to Hilton for the career opportunities, for the ability to live and work anywhere in the world. And that's why people should be attracted to our industry in general. We're a great community employer. Think of the next 10 years. There'll be 50 million travel and tourism jobs created across India in all sectors of travel and tourism. Why is Hilton perennially awarded the best of the hospitality companies to work for, if not the best company to work for? Two things. We invest the training hours to ensure that we have the top talent, the top trained talent, and we actively secure the best leaders, and those leaders look for promotable evidence. It is my role to find people to promote. It's Zubin's role to find people to promote. And our world is full, and the hospitality industry is full of Indian nationals that started their career here and are working in different parts around the globe. Our leadership levels on our hotels in India are full of people that started carrying bags, carrying plates, working in kitchens, and worked their way up. Outside of the army, hospitality is one of the few sectors that unskilled labor can join, be trained, and through the power of hospitality, be promoted to live and work and change their, I suppose, expectancy for their family for generations to come. And it's something that over 100-year sort of career of hotel keeping that Hilton takes very seriously. We are not a hospitality vertical. We don't do cruise, we don't do airlines, we don't do booking systems, we haven't diversified. I'm not even sure what a number of travel verticals means, to poke fun at one of our competitors. We are a pure play hospitality company, that's all we do. So if you look at why work for Hilton, for exactly those reasons. We will train you, we will promote you, and through hospitality you can live and work and anywhere in the world. And in exchange, we ask you to help us provide a best-in-class customer experience, which ultimately leads us to the market share returns that we enjoy and the best-in-class owner returns that we enjoy. It is a simple, if you will, flywheel of delivery, but it's that simple flywheel of delivery that has underpinned the company's growth and will continue to underpin that growth. And it's one that is certainly alive and well here in India.
Excellent. So the message is we grow together, right? Zubin, do you want to add to it?
I think with growth, and there's going to be tremendous coming out of the Hilton stable, we are going to continue to grow our teams with world-class professionals. And beyond having world-class talent join us, we also aim to
You're
promote.
making a pitch, by the way.
No, but we do aim to promote from within, and our target is to have 70% of our vacant positions being filled in from within. So there's a big focus around talent, there's a big focus around growth, and there's a big focus around growing the best talent.
Well, that's so reassuring. I'm sure reassuring for all the people who make Hilton in India. Let me now get to the concluding part of our session, right? What message, this is to both of you, would you like to convey to Hilton stakeholders, partners, and the broader community in India as you embark on this new journey with Hilton? Why don't you begin and then let Alan cap it?
My message, and a very clear message, is that we are here to participate for the long India sunrise. We are here to build a business which is fundamentally robust, built on the right principles, right values, and right fundamentals, and deliver superlative returns and ROIs, not only to our owner partners, but also to our guests and employees. And that's what we are really after. So watch what's coming.
Oh, I love that. Watch what's coming. Alan?
Look, my message, when always asked this question, is a message of thanks. It's a privilege for us to be part of the Indian travel and tourism and hospitality scene. Our investors have a lot of places that they can park their money. Our team members have one of the most dynamic opportunities to join travel and tourism. And I always feel privileged that owners have selected us to lead their properties. I always feel privileged that team members are choosing to work with Hilton and ply their trade, as you will, as Zubin and I do, within the Hilton family of brands. And I feel privileged that the industry is so mature and can work together in the way that it does. The market in India is big enough for all players, and as we see the proliferation of brands. So what I want for the industry is to continue on the trajectory as it is. But I feel thankful, and I think as a business leader, no matter how big or small you are, when you lose that ability to be humble and to say thank you to your team members for plying their careers with you, to your owners for co-investing with you to make sure that they are choosing you to change the city skyline and have your brands on their buildings, and that our customers are choosing to remain loyal to Hilton, is critically important. And we know that, you know, from a leadership position, that if you ever find someone in the seat that's lost the ability to be endlessly thankful for the privilege to trade, then they're losing their way. And it's something that's at the very heart of what we do. It's sort of my closing comment. We're a hospitality company first and foremost, and that means hospitality to our owners, our customers, and our teams before we do anything else. And it's that's going to keep us safe in India.
And there's something I would like to add to Alan, what you said, and if I may, I'll speak a little bit on your behalf. Just 2 words or a sentence. We are here for the long sunrise. And that's where India is, and that's where we'll go.
Zubin, every new day is a new opportunity. We reset the previous day and we begin afresh. The Hilton story has yet to be written from a success standpoint for India. And I'm sure this is a great beginning. Alan, thank you for being there. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Zubin. I have thoroughly enjoyed the session, the show. We shall have you come back, look at the video of what has been recorded, and let's get back next year and see how Hilton has progressed under the charge of Zubin and Alan, right? Like I said, every day is a new day. Let us wish Hilton, Zubin, Alan, and your teams and all the stakeholders, be they partners, be they investors, or your employees, all the very best, for your best is yet to come. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a wonderful session that I've had with Alan and Zubin. They've told the Hilton story that they are beginning to write afresh. Thank you for being on the BWH Dialogues show. This has been a special with Alan and Zubin. We shall do a lot more and have them come back. Thank you. Thank you for being there. God bless. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.